Say what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a pro violation. Yard down. Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994 I got arrested. I ended up getting 16 years plus life, and I done 24 years straight in the California prison system. During those times, I accumulated some good stories. So, in the event you happen to like these stories that you hear, please be sure to hit the like button. Also, leave a comment. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, then subscribe to my channel, and also be sure to hit that notification bell. That way, anytime I drop a story, you will be notified ASAP Rocky, and you can hop on it whenever you're ready. Now, I also rap. So a lot of dudes have got at me in the comments and be like, hey, you know what, man? I thought you was a little older. I thought your raps was going to be garbage. I get that all the time. But check it out. You'll definitely be pleasantly surprised, man. I'm telling you, when I tell you I rap, I really can rap. I do this. Now, what you can do, just type in 16 to life music, and my songs and stuff will pop up. Also, in the event you like what you hear, go to my website. You can purchase my music. Go to my website. You can purchase my music at 16tolife.com. That's 16tolife.com. Now, in my comments a lot, I often get, hey, man, they ask me, what were some of the things that you saw in prison that you will never forget? So I'm going to try to give y'all two quick stories of things that I saw that I'll never forget. One time I happened to be, now this takes place at CMC East. I happened to be working in the diet kitchen. Now the diet kitchen is basically, it was like a hospital, for convicts who was doing time and who had certain illnesses and still could be treated on the facility. I was up there with a dude one time who had got his jaw broke, and because of that, he had to eat, certain food and stuff. They had dudes up there also who had kidney failure, some dudes who had cancer, liver disease, and things of that nature. But what was so cool about working in the diet kitchen, due to the special meals that some people required up there, they got real food from the streets. They got things we hadn't tasted and seen in years and years. Pineapple juice, apple juice, carne asada. Even though I don't eat fish, they had fish. It was yummy, man. The stuff they was getting up there, cheeseburgers with real cheese, bacon, just a whole bunch of stuff that you wouldn't see in no regular prison. So on those perks alone, it made it cool to work up there because by us working up there, of course, we'd get extra food and stuff and things like that. And then also it was a whole lot going on up in there. You had some of those dudes up there, who was messing with the guards, the nurses up there. And I'll give y'all a story about that a little later. But it was on and cracking up in there. Now, when my homie got me the job, he got me the job as the porter. I was a porter up there. So basically I would clean up, sweep the floors, change the trash, stuff like that. Also, they had a big giant laundry room up there for the convicts who was up there. And, I would go down there. I'd fold up, T-shirts, boxers, socks, and, towels, and pass those out to the dudes who was up there. So at one end, because it was a pretty big building. At one end of the building, they had two dorms in a hallway across from each other. Now, each dorm contained maybe about 20 beds up in there, and so, and on the opposite end of the hallway, they had some cells down there, and they also had some dudes down there in some cells, and they had some rooms, and if you was down that way, those were the dudes who had their injuries or their illnesses was a bit more severe. Some of them, they had a hospice section down there too, where some people was down there basically just waiting to pass away. And so one day I go to work, and I'm making my rounds, and I get down to the end where they have the more severe convicts with illnesses. So I see a black dude up in the room who hadn't been there the day before. So I go up in there, I say, hey, what's going on, man? He rolled over. His whole face is peeling off and burnt up, his chest and stuff, his shoulders. So what had happened was he had got into it with his cellie. His cellie ended up boiling some hot water in these things that we had called hot pots. Hot pots were basically like a small little, almost like a coffee pot that you could plug in and use to warm up water for your coffee, for your soups, to cook with, things of that nature. Well, he ended up getting into it with his cellie. I believe this brother right here was from, I think he was from 9-7 Gangster, if I'm not mistaken. he was definitely from a gangster hood, and his celly, I believe, was from West Coast '80s, I believe. His celly was about a Long Beach, but anyway, I guess they'd had some type of argument in a cell at another prison. He came down from a level 4, and at some point in time, his celly boiled some water. I believe he poured some Kool-Aid or some soap. I mean, some excuse me, or some syrup in the water under the idea that the stickiness of it would make his skin peel off. And so at some point in time, when he wasn't paying attention, his celly threw this burning hot water in his face, and man, the dude was all burnt up, man. And so I'm sitting there talking to him, and actually I feel sorry for the brother, because in prison, man, the last thing I wanted to do was get hurt or injured up in there, because prison is a violent, spontaneous place. And, the last thing I wanted to do was be in a position where I couldn't protect myself 100%, whether I sprained the ankle on the basketball court, bent a finger back or whatever, my arm or shoulder got sore. I hated to be injured in the prison, because anything can break out. And if you're not 100%, then, it's going to be much worse for you. And so, me and his brother, we got to talking, and he had a homeboy on the yard. So of course I went back. I got at his homeboy. I let his homeboy know that he was up there. Matter of fact, his homie is T-Mac. So shout out to T-Mac, man. I know you had hit me a time or two. I hollered at you on the gram. Get at me, man. Let's do a little something with this rap stuff. So anyway, though, his homie would send me stuff to take up there to him, soups and coffee, things of that nature or whatever, And I gotta say, man, the brother, he hit him with that hot water. He was pretty burnt up, man. So one day I come to work, maybe about a week and a half later, couldn't have been much longer than that. And he was telling me, hey, he said, I'm up out of here. And I'm like, you up out of here? Where you going? He said, oh, man, they sending me back. Now, they were sending him back to the level 4 prison that he came from. Not, of course, back to the same cell with the dude he got into it with, but just back to that prison. He hadn't even healed up yet, so I know just to move fast and to do this or whatever, with the way his skin was all burnt up and tight, I know that was going to cause him a lot of pain. So I'm in my mind, I'm thinking like, damn, man, that was super cruel to be sending this dude back, because I didn't believe he had enough time to recover. So anyway, they end up sending him back, and that was the last I seen of that dude. But that's just one of the many things I saw in prison that I'll never forget. Also, another thing I happened to see, I was in the hole at CMC. Like I told you guys, I was in the hole for the riot I was involved in with the Compton and Watts dudes. And so now when you in the hole, a lot of people hear that you in the hole, or they watch these old prison stories. You're not in the actual hole. You're in a regular cell like everybody else, except you just don't get to leave the cell maybe like an hour a day. You get a shower like maybe every 3 days, and you don't got your TV, you don't got your radio, things of that nature in there that make prison a little more comfortable, So you basically just in the cell by yourself. Maybe once a week they'll come by with a library card, and they'll allow you to get a book off the library card. But you still can receive mail. You still can have your family mail you magazines and stuff like that, And so what a lot of people were doing there to, since a lot of people didn't have reading material or books and this and that. Once they was finished reading their books, they would do what was called fishing. And so they would make a long line. Some people would tear their sheet. Some people would pull the string up out of your boxers. You can pull a string out of the front of your boxers and just keep pulling it and pulling it and pulling it. I mean, this string seemed like it went on forever and ever and ever. Then they would maybe get a cup or something like a pencil, attach the string to the cup. Then they maybe put the cup over the shelf or something in there and spin the cup. And while you're spinning the cup continuously, now that would take like hours and hours and hours. But what it was doing was it was strengthening that string, making that string strong like a fishing line. Then you could connect the string to what they would call a car. It was basically just something that was weighted down and flat. And you'd get up under the door and you could sling it outside of your cell. And that way you could sling it down, way far down the tier. And another person who had another fishing line, he could pull your string in and then put a magazine on there. Because what they would call it a car. They would connect They also connect like maybe a manila envelope to the string. So when you throw it out, then it would have this no, excuse me, they call it a transporter. And it would have the manila envelope on the string, so then they could put, tobacco or cigarettes or a magazine in there, things like that. So, and that's how we would get things, back and forth, because like I say, they didn't allow us out of the cell. There was no movement. Now, of course, we wasn't allowed to fish. That was against the rules. If the COs seen your fishing line out there, they'd snatch it and break it. And also, what they did in order to try to prevent us from fishing and to make it harder, the doors were much lower to the ground than normal cell doors. And then also, they'd put this real sharp metal flat in front. It was welded onto the door actually, and it was in front of the little. It was at the bottom of the door, in front of the little in front of the hole of the door. So it would, to try to prevent things from being pulled up in there, and it was extremely sharp. And so it made the door even lower, and it made it hard to get things up in there. So now, we didn't, like I said, we didn't leave the cell. So they would feed us in the cell. So what they had, a little tray slot in there, and so they'd open it, a little food slot, and it was a little compartment. And when they opened it, it would fall back, and then they'd stick the food through there. So when they did that, it would be like it's like a square, and it's like a little compartment in there. And so what people would do when that thing was closed and they was fishing and trying to get stuff in, they'd lay back down with their head facing the door. Then they'd bring their feet over their head and put their feet in that little tray slot and push that up, and that would bring the door up maybe an inch or so, just with just enough space to pull things in that may have been too big to pull through normally. And so one day, one of my homies happened to be standing at the door. He was in the hole as well. The homie I told you guys about, likewise, when we had got into the ride with the Compton and Watts dudes, and the nurse came through there and said, "Dude, you look fucked up," whatever she said. "You got your ass beat," or whatever she said to him. He was standing at the door. Now, all of a sudden, somebody went to hollering, "Ah, ah." And so my homie likewise said, "Oh, damn, look, man, damn." So I got up, I came to the door. And I said, "What's up? What's going on?" He happened to be like 2 or 3 cells down from me. He said, "Oh, man, look, dude just chopped his finger off." So I guess in the process of trying to fish something in, the guy had his hands under the door with his feet on the thing, lifted up, and some type of way, the door must have came down, and that sharp little metal part that they have in front of the door cut his finger off. And he said, "Man, look." So you could look out the cell. He had a tip of his finger just laying out there on the floor. So this dude is screaming and hollering for the guards and stuff. And anybody who their cell was in a position that they could see this cell could look out there and see his finger. And so, of course, seeing that, I immediately shut down all my fishing in terms of trying to put my foot on that thing and lift the cell up. If I couldn't get it in there regularly, then I wouldn't fit to try to get it in there, because I definitely didn't want to cut off one of my fingers or something like that. Like I say, being in prison is a violent, spontaneous place, and I didn't want to be injured in no way, shape, or form. So those are just a couple of things that I'll never forget, about prison. I've seen some more brutal, gruesome things, and I'll bring that to y'all a little later. But anyway, I hope y'all like these stories right here. In the event you did, hit that like button. Let me know what y'all thought. Y'all already know what time it is. It's your boy 16 to Life. Resume normal program.